Well, hello, my friend. We have made it to part 4 of our 4-part series with my friend, Rich Perry. And we're talking all about LinkedIn in this 4-part series. Now, if you've missed the first 3 parts to this conversation, I highly recommend you go back after you listen to this one, or maybe even listen to the other ones before. I don't even know, whatever you prefer. But I highly recommend that you go and give them a listen because they kind of build on each other and they are all super, super, super valuable when it comes to understanding LinkedIn, showing up on LinkedIn, promoting your podcast on LinkedIn, and also just becoming that thought leader on LinkedIn. And in this episode today, we are talking about crafting your LinkedIn marketing strategy. We're talking about personalization, we're talking about value, and we're talking about podcast promotion. And joining me for this conversation is my friend Rich Perry. And in case you don't know who he is, in case you haven't listened to the last few episodes of this series, he is a business communication and marketing strategist, and he helps you build the brand your customers will trust. Entrepreneurs who have an important message to share hire Rich when they want to design an optimized and powerful strategy to reach their audience, build brand authority, and also turn casual visitors into lifelong customers. He has also co-authored a book, which is called Bankroll Your Mind, and it's an international #1 bestseller. And he was also a contributing author in 3 books focusing on personal development. And he also is a writer for Entrepreneur and other online publications. Now, together in this conversation, we're talking about creating an effective strategy for promoting your brand and your podcast on this powerful LinkedIn platform. We're going to talk about the basics to consider when crafting your LinkedIn marketing strategy, for optimizing your profile to targeting the right audience. And he's also going to talk about key tactics for personalizing your LinkedIn communication, building genuine connections, and standing out in a really crowded and oversaturated digital space. We are going to talk about the art of providing value-based content on LinkedIn. And we're also talking about valuable insights and tips and resources that resonate with your target audience. Now, this wouldn't be a podcast about podcasting or teaching you how to market and grow your podcast if we didn't also talk about expanding your reach and connecting with potential guests and collaborators. We're also going to delve into the process of creating a marketing strategy specifically tailored to promoting your podcast effectively on LinkedIn so that you can ensure maximum exposure and maximum engagement. So let's get into our conversation today with Rich. Thanks so much for joining me for this 4-part series. If you love what you heard here today, subscribe, share it with another creator that you know is going to love it, and also leave us a rating and review on Apple or Spotify. I'm so grateful. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can watch the whole video, the conversation on YouTube. If you are doing so, please hit subscribe on my channel and share this video with someone who you know is going to love it. Okay, my friend, let's get into today's last part of our LinkedIn marketing series. Rich, welcome back to As It Relates to Podcasting for our very last episode of our 4-part series together. What a great conversation this has been.
Simone, I'll tell you what, we've been crushing it with value, and we've been having a great time doing it. It's the best in all areas. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate the listener listening. And I know there's been tons of gold because I'm learning as you and I are talking, so I appreciate it.
Me too. And I have like a whole list going on in my head of all the things that I need to do to update my LinkedIn and make it the most powerful platform that I can for that audience that's there. And I think one of the biggest keys to all of the work that you do, especially in the LinkedIn space, I mean, this is what you do. You know what I mean? You're helping people create these marketing strategies and understand how to leverage LinkedIn for their personal brands, but also with that comes their podcast, comes their newsletter, comes their this, that, like all of the different pieces of what people create in their companies and in their brands. So do you want to take us through a little bit, maybe some first places to kind of start out on when it comes to thinking about your marketing strategy and how you help people do that?
Absolutely. So when I'm meeting with a client and we're going to design a LinkedIn marketing strategy, okay, one of the first things that the very first place that we start, as we were talking about, I think it was probably in episode 1, Simona, is making sure your profile is set up for success. Okay, you can have the best marketing strategy, the best engagement strategy, the best content marketing strategy, but if I go to home your profile and it looks like, right? So, listeners, viewers, make sure you go back and take notes from episode 1 and make your profile really stand out. Because once again, you are projecting who you are as a person, as a brand, as a business, as a podcast. Make sure you're setting yourself up for success. You have all the areas filled out. It looks clean, it looks professional, it looks attractive. It's capturing that viewer's attention, and you're giving value right there on your profile that's going to keep them around and interested to learn even more about you. Okay. So, once again, keep it dynamic. Make sure you're always adding to it and make sure you're projecting the identity, the brand identity that speaks to who you are. Okay. So, once we've established that, then I encourage my clients to start developing a marketing strategy for LinkedIn. And we talked about it off camera real quick, Simone, and I'll say it now. If you're not sure about your LinkedIn strategy and what you're doing, I've got a fun quiz that we're going to add into the show notes. So take the quiz and find out how you're doing and whether or not your profile is set up for success. Okay.
I
So
think
one of
my
the
score would be like 0. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't say 0. Maybe like a solid 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5, hey, that's good, right?
Better than 0, right?
All right. So the first thing that we want to do is start finding the people that we want to connect with. Okay. Quality over quantity. And I think we talked about this maybe in like the second episode, but it's using those search filters so we can start proactively attracting those people. The example that I like always using is, do you remember the movie from back in the day, The Field of Dreams? Like, right, if you build it, no? Okay.
I am the worst movie buff ever, Rich. Like,
Okay.
I honestly can't remember the last movie that I watched.
Okay. So for those of us that remember the movie, and if you don't, I'll quickly bring it the scenario around. So this dude, he's a farmer, right? Kevin Costner, and the voice out in the he's a farmer, and the voice in the cornfield says, "If you build it, they will come."
Right.
So Kevin Costner builds this baseball field, and all these great past spirits come to play ball, right? If you build it, they will come. And a
Right.
lot of business owners and podcasters have that mentality. Like, I've created the podcast, I've created the business. How come people aren't coming to me? Well, in
Yeah.
movies, they have the magic
Yeah.
of, just creating the scenario as they want it to happen. But in real life, we need to go out and get those possibilities, right? Yeah, we can attract them, but it takes a little bit of action on our part to bring those people into the fold. Okay. And you can do that by utilizing those search filters. So you're going to
Okay.
proactively start reaching out to people that you want to get their attention. Okay.
Right.
So maybe your podcast is catering to small business owners. Okay, so you're going to go into that search filter, into the connections area, start looking for second and third connections that are small businesses,
Mm.
small business owners that, hey, I think my podcast would add value to this person. Then you're
Yeah.
going to start sending out those connection requests and building that relationship right there. Now,
Okay.
here's the other thing. Okay. Now, this is part of the marketing strategy. It's also part of our communication strategy. Once you've got, a whole bunch of people, business owner, business owner, business owner, business owner, right? Okay. You have the button that says connect. When you go to, don't press, when you're in the search area, don't press that connect button without going to their profile first. Okay. And here's why. You want the opportunity to send a personalized connection. If you press that connect button and it flies away, LinkedIn
Mm.
is going to send a default connection request that just says, Rich wants to connect with you. Do you accept?
Right.
Okay. You don't want that because it shows no effort on your part. Okay. Once again, this is a marketing strategy, it's a communication strategy. We're thinking about how we're doing this. What I want you to do is you're going to scroll down and it's going to say, like, send a personalized invitation. It's going to give you the option to add a note. So you
Yeah.
want to personalize that connection request. Hi, Simona. I found you on LinkedIn. I really like what you're doing as a podcast host and as a producer. I checked out some of your work, and I think we'd add value to each other's networks by being connected. Okay. Now there
Mm.
is a character count, so you're not going to send them like this long, verbose message,
I
but
mean, I
you
wouldn't
can.
even read it anyways. I'd be like, bye. Like,
Right. But if you say something very short, something very personable like that, like, hey, Simona, we're both podcasters. I see what you're doing, and I thought we would add value to each other's networks by being
yeah.
connected. Like, it shows that I took time. It shows that I looked at your profile, that I put in the effort to start this relationship. I guarantee the other person is going to be very receptive to that, and it's going to increase the likelihood that they will accept the connection request. Now, once they've accepted that connection request, reach back out to them and thank them for accepting the connection request. Now, in your
Right.
thank you, it's a brief thank you. Okay. It's a, hey, thank you for accepting my connection request. I'm looking forward to following your work here on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and I hope I can reach out to you if I have any questions, right? Boom, that's it. It doesn't need to, and do not send like links and a sales letter and appear to be scammy or spammy, because the, once again, we're talking about building quality relationships. So you're just reaching out to this person to acknowledge the fact that they accepted, and you're
Yeah.
saying, hey, thank you, and I'm looking forward to continuing this relationship. End it.
Love
Okay.
it.
And then from there, you're now moving it into the communication and engagement strategy of, you see the person posted, add your comments, right? And don't just do fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji. Like, put some thought and effort into it. And this
Yeah.
is a transferable tip, folks. This doesn't necessarily only apply on LinkedIn. Like, this is for Facebook, this is for Instagram. Like, don't do fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji in the comments area just to get attention. That does nothing.
Hmm.
Add your insights, add your thoughts. Tell me why you liked that post, right?
Yeah.
Take the opportunity to compliment the person or respond to the post, and then add your own insights. So you're adding your own thought leadership, you're adding your own value
Yeah.
to that post, and now you're increasing the chance of having that communication. Because if I see, oh, this person really took time out of their day to comment and they said some really interesting things, let me probe this person, because now I'm intrigued. Like, this person took
Exactly.
time. So that's what we're doing, is we're building those relationships. Now, we've talked about that. The strategy part is doing it on a consistent basis. So maybe, like, you're going to set a goal for yourself of, I'm going to send 10 connection requests a week, okay?
Okay.
And then you reach out to those people, you start building that engagement, you start building that communication, you're building that relationship. And now the following week, it's 10 more. And the following
Hmm.
week, it's 10 more. And the following week, it's 10 more. If you do that, I guarantee your acceptance percentage is going to go up. Now these people, they're seeing you engaged. Okay, you're showing interest in them. Now they're going to reciprocate and show interest in what you're doing. Now you've opened the door for, hey, you know what? I know that you're a small business owner and you do such and such, and my podcast is for small business owners, and I'd love to get your insights on this particular episode that I think might interest you. Would you give it a listen and share your thoughts, right?
Right.
So they're now more receptive to listening to your podcast because you've established that relationship. You've built that credibility. You're getting their interest, and you're showing that you have their genuine interests in mind, because it started on the good foot. You started
Right.
the right way, and doing that on a consistent basis is what is needed to have a solid marketing strategy when it comes to LinkedIn. And
Love
then,
that.
as we've been talking about, Simona, it's adding that value-based content. Okay, it's putting in the posts, it's creating long form articles, it's sharing your information, it's commenting on other people's stuff, it's engaging in their information, because people will find you by the comments that you leave on other people's messages. I
Right.
get I get friend requests from people that they send it, a third person makes a post, I comment, I share my insights, add
Yep.
to the conversation, and then I get friend requests from people in that chain like, "Hey, I saw you posted on so and so's post, you added some cool insights. Can we connect?" Yeah, man,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
And it's doing that on a regular basis that is going to help you in the long run with your LinkedIn marketing strategy, ultimately because you want to grow your podcast and grow your brand on the platform.
I love that. I love that. Ooh, that was so much value right in there because I think that's really important, especially like that connection piece. Because one thing that I feel like happens a lot on LinkedIn, it's like, if you don't know someone right off the bat, it's easy to like look at it in the same way as you would look at a friendship, request on something like, Facebook or even on Instagram. When someone sends you a DM on Instagram, it can be like really annoying because you're like, what do you want? You know what I mean? Like, what is it that what do you want? What do you want to try? What are you trying to sell me? You know what I mean? Where it's like on through this method and in this way on LinkedIn, you're kind of like, oh, we're just connecting, we're adding value. Maybe we'll have a conversation, maybe we'll hop on a call, but that's not
Mm-hmm.
the intention of the connection. The intention of the connection is to build that relationship. And I think that's the differentiating piece. And then eventually you can sell if you want to.
And I've heard many, many times in my responses, and this goes across platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, people respond to me and they thank me because they're like, "Hey, I don't get personalized invitations to connect." And a lot
Yeah,
of times I don't get people sending me a message to simply thank me for accepting the friend request or the connection request. And you didn't try and sell me on anything. Like, I can tell you're a genuine person. And I
exactly.
just want to show my acknowledgement of that. It has happened many, many times because I know that nobody's doing this. Like, the percentage is small of people that are actually doing this
Mm,
on a regular basis, to the point where, because I do it, I'm an outlier. Because I do it, I stand out from everybody else because everybody else isn't doing it. And they
exactly.
should be. I encourage you to do it. This isn't like a deep dark secret. You're not going to, like, I'm not going to sell you on I know the secrets. It's building relationships, folks. It's what we learned in kindergarten. Like, go out and meet friends, Johnny, on the playground. Go up and shake his hand, introduce yourself,
Yep.
and like, it's taking those things we learned in kindergarten and applying them in business relationships.
In real
And because
life.
I do it, people, it it stands out, but it shouldn't stand out because it's something we should all be doing.
Exactly. But unfortunately, I mean, fortunately and unfortunately, it is something that stands out because I think that people have been so conditioned to just sort of sit here and be like, sell, 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 connect with the intention of selling, connect with the intention of converting. And it's like, that's not really what it's about. And if you want to be if you want to be good in business, it's not about, you can put the ask out there in your content and your like, you know what I mean? Like if you're making a post about something and you're like, if you have questions about this, feel free to reach out. And that can turn
Mhm.
into a sales conversation. But I think there's a fine line, you know what I mean? In between the two of them.
Absolutely. And I encourage you, the viewer, to, in your, now I did call it prospecting, okay? But it's because you're prospecting to add value to your circle and their
Yeah.
circle. Like, it's not necessarily prospecting of I'm going to sell my services to this person. It's, who are the people that I want to bring into my world? Who are the
Mm-hmm.
people that I want to hang out with in the digital space? Okay?
Exactly.
And if you find those right people, yes, maybe not every single one of them is going to convert, but you're just enriching your digital experience. You're enriching your digital experience, you're enriching their digital experience, and it might be an indirect benefit, but you're going to benefit in the long run. So
I
you're
love that.
you're 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 attracting these good people into your world because you don't know what opportunities could come because of it. And you're starting out those relationships in the best way by treating them like people who want the same things you want. We all want to be respected. We all want to be treated fairly. We all want to be we all want to be cared for and things of that nature, right? Like, so you're doing those things, you're showing that you have good
Yeah.
intentions in your business practice.
Exactly. I love that. Now, if we could switch just very quickly to some of like the tactical things that people can do in addition to what you've already listed, but if you look at like a marketing strategy overall, especially for a podcaster who's trying to look at LinkedIn and create a strategy on there, what are some like quick things that you think that they should do, or best ways to get their content out there to have the most impact?
Definitely start pushing the content on a consistent basis. And as you were saying, Simona, before, about it doesn't always have to be about the podcast, I
Right.
want to bring that back in. So yeah, maybe you release a podcast on Mondays. Okay. So on Mondays, you're gonna obviously promote the podcast, but maybe on Tuesday you're talking about something else, okay? Or you're talking about a similar thing that it flatters what you talked about, or it
Mm-hmm.
highlights, or it relates to, that was the word I was searching for. It
Love that.
relates to what it is that you typically talk about, but it's not having to force feed always podcast down the throats of everyone else.
Right.
Okay. Having a variety of content, as we talked about in a previous episode, of, sometimes it's maybe you're highlighting tips, you're throwing out a quick little picture from the top tips that you heard in yesterday's podcast. Okay. And you can whip those up on Canva or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe you're transcribing what was said in the show and creating an article out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And
I love
sharing
that.
it that way, because we know that some learners are visual, some prefer auditory, some want the kinesthetic, they want to be able to read it. Okay. It's appealing to all of those audiences. And again, being consistent over time. And also too, engaging with other people's. Don't make it always about you as a podcast, because if you're always talking about you and it's a one-way street, and you're not engaging with other people's content, or are responding to what it is that they're doing, okay? Just like the dinner guest who only talks about themselves, right?
Yeah.
They just want to talk about themselves. They're not interested in having a conversation with the other people at the table. It's the same way on LinkedIn. So listen, respond, and also offer your own.
I love that. Amazing. Okay, Rich, is there anything else that comes to mind that you think my listener needs to know today when it comes to LinkedIn?
I'll go back to what I always told my interns when I was working with the college kids is make sure the image that you're projecting on LinkedIn, okay, flatters who you are and speaks to
Mm,
who you are, both as a person and as a professional. Because as you said, Simona, like, when you choose to do business with someone, or when you choose to subscribe to someone's newsletter, or you choose to subscribe to their podcast, you're giving your time and energy into that thing, right? You're giving money, or you're giving time, or you're giving in other ways. Okay.
yeah,
So make sure that that message that you're putting out there is deserving of that person's time, is deserving of that person's investment,
love
is
that.
deserving of that person's money or attention. Okay. So treat it as such. Use it for all the opportunities that we've discussed in this 4-part episode. So much value has been given here.
Yeah,
Really utilize LinkedIn. There's so much opportunity there for you. So make sure you're taking advantage of it to build your brand, your thought leadership platform, to continue to deliver value for other people, to be of service. And LinkedIn has those opportunities for you.
I love that. Thank you so much, Rich, for sharing your time, your expertise, all of your wisdom, and all of your knowledge across this 4-part series. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you.
I'm grateful for you, Simona. Like,
Thank
and,
you.
and I was trying to remember, like, did we meet this year at Podfest or last year? Because I feel like we've known each other for
I
like,
know. I know. No, we met this year, like more officially, but I know that we saw each other in passing last year. But there were
okay.
so many people that I didn't meet last year that I saw again this year that I was like, oh my goodness, like I need to like connect with them more. And then I don't know, I guess we just started seeing each other's content like more all over social media. And I was like, we were talking about these different series and you were like, yeah, I have so many people I can recommend. And I'm like, you need to come on my show. Like I love them too, but like I want you to come on my show, you
And
know?
and if nothing else, that's a beautiful way to end this
Mm,
segment, is because this is like a case study of what it
yes,
takes to build a long lasting relationship, because you and I knew of each other long before you and I were in the same physical space of somebody.
exactly.
So those reputations went far and beyond, so that when
It's
we finally
true.
occupied the same physical space, it was like, I know of you and I know of you, and we've interacted and we became that much closer because of it.
Mm,
And I encourage you, the listener, to treat it the same way, because when you project that image, when you're doing the right activity online, and when you finally get the opportunity to stand in that person's physical space, or you finally get the opportunity to, hop on that consultation, all the foundational work will already have been done, and you
yeah,
can just get into the good stuff, right? Like, you and I
exactly.
knew of each other for months, and then by the time
Exactly.
we met at Podfest, it was like, yo, we're like buds already. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and you know it. Yeah, just
I love it. No, it's true. It is so 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 true. It extends far beyond what you do online. And as long as, one thing that I love is when people can say, you're exactly the same in person as you would have been online. That is such a compliment because it's like you portrayed yourself in a way that is actually authentic to you. And so hats off to you, my friend, because you're the exact same in person as you are online. And I love it.
and you are too. So I appreciate you, Simona,
Thanks.
for asking me to be on this awesome 4-part series. Thank you so much for giving your time and trusting me to offer good ideas for your listeners, because that's the most important part,
Mm,
because I know how much we value our listeners, and you've trusted me. You've given me the thumbs
virtual
up, the gold
torch.
star. Yeah, to be like, yes, I trust this person, and allowing me to come onto into your community to share some tips. So thank you,
Amazing.
Simona.
You're so welcome. Thanks again. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode. If you love what you heard, be sure to leave a rating and review on your favorite platform. That would be Apple or Spotify. 5 stars if you feel like we deserve 5 stars. I love it. Super grateful for you tuning into this episode. I hope you learned a lot, and I would love to know what you took away from this conversation with Rich and I. Be sure to connect with both of us, and you can find us using the links in the show notes. And don't forget to grab Rich's free LinkedIn marketing strategy quiz, which you can also find in the show notes below. Thanks again so much for tuning into this episode, and I will see you on the next one.